Today, we're diving into the story of Robert Pickton. If you haven't heard the name, you're about to learn about a man at the center of one of Canada's most, well, truly horrifying true crime cases ever.
All right, let's set the scene. The year is 2002. Police are raiding a pretty remote pig farm out in British Columbia. Now, they were there on a tip, but believe me, they had absolutely no idea what they were about to walk into.
Because what they found there, it didn't just shake a small town, it shook the entire nation. It was about to blow the lid off a story about a monster hiding in plain sight, and maybe even more disturbing, a massive societal failure that people had been ignoring for way, way too long. So let's start with that terrifying discovery.
You know, the crazy thing is, they weren't even there for murder. The raid was for suspected illegal weapons. But the moment they got there, something was just off, an eerie silence. Then they spot bloodstains on a door, and there was this smell, just awful. As they pushed further in, they started finding things, scattered pieces of flesh and bones. It hit them like a ton of bricks. This wasn't a weapons bust. They had just walked into a graveyard.
Which brings us to the man himself, the devil of this farm. Who was Robert Pickton?
Well, Robert William Pickton was born back in 1949, and his entire world, right from the start, was that family pig farm. By all accounts, his parents were incredibly harsh, and the work was just brutal. School wasn't any better for him. He was a poor student, super shy, really awkward. You can just imagine. So you've got this combination of a really tough home life and being an outcast at school, and as he gets older, he just retreats further and further into himself, completely cut off from society.
And here's a detail that really tells you everything you need to know. He started preferring the company of animals over people. Think about that. It's not just that he was a loner. He was actively detaching from humanity. And that chilling mindset became the foundation for everything that was to come.
So, this isolated farm, yeah, it didn't stay just a farm for long. It slowly transformed into his own personal den of crimes, a place where he could let his darkest impulses run wild. He even gave it a name, the Piggy Palace Good Times Society. Sounds like a party, right? And that's exactly what it looked like on the surface. But it was all a mask. In reality, this was a meticulously designed trap, a way to lure in the most vulnerable people, drug users, sex workers, and get them far, far away from anyone who might notice they were gone.
And where did he find his victims? His hunting ground was a specific place, Vancouver's downtown east side. Now, back in the 80s and 90s, this neighborhood was known for some really tough issues: poverty, addiction. The women there were already on the absolute margins of society, which made them, in his eyes, easy targets. And the most heartbreaking part? For years, women were just vanishing from this area, just gone. And for years, nobody seemed to care. Not the public, not the authorities. It was a silent epidemic.
So what happened when he got these women back to his farm? Well, it was pure savage brutality, the stuff of actual nightmares.
49. Let that number sink in for a second. 49. That is the number of women Robert Pickton would later boast about killing. It's a number so staggering it's hard to even wrap your head around.
His method was horrifyingly methodical. Step 1, lure a woman to the farm. Step 2, murder. Sometimes he'd use a poisoned injection, telling them it was some kind of special drug. Other times, a knife. And then, step 3, disposal. This is maybe the most gruesome part. He used his pigs to consume the bodies, essentially erasing the evidence. It's why it was so incredibly hard to find any remains. So how does a person even justify this in their own head? It's completely twisted. He saw himself as a cleaner. Isn't that chilling? He truly believed he was doing society a favor by getting rid of people he decided were useless and worthless. It was this total and complete dehumanization of his victims that let him do what he did without a single shred of empathy. Okay, so for years he gets away with this, but eventually the number of missing women just becomes too big to ignore. The pressure on the police starts to build and build. The path to justice was painfully slow, but the net was finally starting to close in on that pig farm. And then came the breakthrough. After he was arrested, they put him in a cell with a guy he thought was just another criminal. Big mistake. That inmate was actually an undercover cop. And Pickton, he couldn't help himself. He started bragging.
He told the officer he had killed 49 women and was this close to making it a nice round 50.
And this, right here, is one of the most infuriating parts of this whole story. He claimed he killed 49 women, but the number he was actually convicted for, just 6. 6! Why the huge gap? Because his disposal method worked. The forensic evidence was so destroyed that prosecutors just couldn't build a case for the other victims. It leaves this massive, disturbing hole between what we know he did and what the legal system could actually prove.
So in 2007, the verdict came down. Robert Pickton was sentenced to life in prison with absolutely no chance of parole. The devil of the farm was finally off the streets for good.
But locking Pickton up didn't just close the book on this case. In a lot of ways, it blew it wide open, forcing a very painful conversation about some much, much bigger problems.
And here's why this story is still so important. The Pickton case really held up a horrifying mirror to society. It showed, in the starkest terms possible, how we fail our most vulnerable people. These women, struggling with addiction, with poverty, they were systematically ignored, left completely unprotected. For years, it was like their lives were seen as disposable, and that's what allowed a monster like Pickton to operate right under everyone's noses.
So that really leaves us with a tough question to chew on, doesn't it? Is this just a story about one single monstrous killer, or is it also a chilling story about our society and about how we failed to see, failed to hear, and ultimately failed to protect the people who needed it most?